Alright, so I'm finally getting into play Loop Hero. I've seen a few people play it, although I've tried to not get too far into the game because I didn't want to have too many spoilers about how the game works. But one of the things that I did see, and actually what made me want to talk about this game on this channel, was the fact that there was a setting that allowed for a change to Dyslexia Friendly fonts. So if we toggle up here, we can see the change happening with these words over here, and you can also see the change happening in the words themselves as we're toggling. We have pixel fonts, which are fancy but hard to read. High-res fonts, and you can see it on the buttons as well, which allow for a little bit higher of a resolution, a lot easier to read. And then what's labeled as a dyslexia-friendly font. One of the things you notice about the dyslexia-friendly font is simply that is a larger font, but also that the letters are more highly spaced, and also that they are more distinctive from each other. And actually, one of the things that I wanted to talk about as we went through and played some of Loop Hero and did some of our loop, I wanted to spend some time talking about dyslexia and dyslexia-friendly fonts. But first I want to get into the game itself, and I also want to see what other options they have in here. It doesn't look like a lot, so let's see what we have. So one of the things we can do, we can automatically pause at the end of the loop. From what I've seen, that's very useful, especially if I'm going to be talking, so that I don't accidentally miss camp. Automatically pause after battle. Battle pause when hovering over units. I'm going to put all of these pauses in here for now. These are things that seem to make the game a little bit easier by pausing the game when you are doing various things. I feel like eventually we'll go in and turn off of those things, but I'm going to put them all in for now. But we're going to go in fresh and look at Loop Hero, which appears to be a roguelite game where in pixel form, so not a lot of heavy graphics, not a lot of things that are going to make somebody like me who has vertigo very ill. But let's go in together and experience the plot and take a look at Loop Hero. The stars in the sky are going out, one by one. But no one notices. No one can stop it. I'm racing to the last place where there is still hope. Wonder if it's this farm. I need to make it before it is too late. It looks like it might already be too late. Maybe this place up here, we can see a little house up here as the sky is melting down into the earth in this really neat way. But I wonder if this house up here, or is that me up in the sky racing to the last place before it is too late? The sounds of agony will quickly fade. The world will be destroyed. Even the memory of it will be gone. I really hope that's not me, because if it is, I look pretty evil. In fact, that might be the big bad making the sky droop and the world destroyed. And even if there is absolutely no chance of bringing it all back, there will always be someone who is willing to do the impossible. In a place without space, without time, without memories. Where am I? I can't see anything except this path. My head is killing me. I remember only a skeleton with a staff in the sky. This darkness was coming from him. Did he destroy everything around here? Just standing here won't do me any good, I guess. So to change between adventure, traveling through the map, and planning, press the switch or right click or space bar. Lots of different ways that we can do this. I like that they've paid a lot of attention to accessibility, right? Someone who needs to use the keyboard, somebody who needs to use the mouse. There are a lot of different ways that we can engage with this game. So let's right click. Hope I'll be able to find some shelter before nightfall. If such a thing as night still exists without a sky, of course. Here I go wandering around the path. Pay attention to the day progress bar at the top of the screen. New enemies will usually appear at the end of the day. Continue your journey by changing the game mode. A living ball of slime. Quite a nuisance. They digest anything they can. Hey, I remembered this creature. Maybe I just need to freshen up my memory and everything will go back to normal. Traveling, fighting, and most other actions are done automatically. The player can't affect them directly. So this reminds me of a game like Half Minute Hero, right, where the fights are all automatic, and I like games like that, where I don't have to do the fighting themselves. It's hard to fight with your bare hands. I think there's a weapon in the remains of this thing that's not fully digested. So now I have a weapon. It tells me all about that weapon, and I can put it in my weapon slot. I think I remember that there was a grove nearby. Are these even my memories? Or do they belong to that slime? So now I have a card, and this card, I guess, represents memories. A gentle rustle of leaves, a crack of a dry branch, and a feeling of being watched. This spawns a rat wolf every 2 days, and the wolf can move to an adjacent tile, and it's telling me where I have to put it. I have to put it on the wasteland, and now there is a grove here. Good, now continue your journey. Here I go. I'm gonna go find me a rat wolf. I go, and this is the entire conceit of the game, right? That we're gonna walk around this loop. So once we finish the tutorial, I'll have plenty of time to sit around and talk. Forest rat wolf. I was right. Some emotional stress, a few colorful images, and a bit of adrenaline, and everything will be forgotten like a bad dream. Or remembered. Or remembered as a bad... Damn. It's good that nobody is listening. So we can get new item cards during battle, and as we probably noticed, some items have unique abilities, as do most cards. So by hovering over an item, we can inspect the properties, and it let us know what's going on. So this rapier has 4 to 6 damage, just like our gladius, but also has vampirism. And we want vampirism, so we're going to use that. And we're going to place a new card on the map. We can get a forest. Nobody knows who or what could be lurking inside. But plus 1% to hero attack speed, and we can put this anywhere, so let's put a forest over here. And we've got some rocks. We'll put rocks here. Great, so there was a mountain over there, and here is a forest. The world is just like new. The branches and stones in my backpack are a sure sign of that. So, we have some branches and stones, check it out. And preserved rock and stable wood. Some of our actions will yield resources that we will need later on, but not right now. But that shouldn't stop you from looking at them right now. So we clicked on our backpack and we can take a look at them now, which is great. And now we wander around some more. La-di-da-di-da. Around the loop again and again. And we find our way to our campsite. Some of our actions yield resources. Oh, yep, continue our journey still. I have it set right that when I hit this place, I stop. That's just my setting. I think it's time to get some rest. So the game itself is a journey on a loop path. You will only decide it's time for the hero to return to camp. Either you or the fangs and claws of your enemy, of course. You can retreat almost any time, but a special animation will know when it's safer to do so. So I'm going to retreat to the camp. Thought of leaving the battlefield and going back to your cozy camp has passed your mind. What a timely idea. The camp is just around the corner, and I will lose nothing. So what I know from watching other people play this game is that if you retreat on the path of your own volition and you're not on your campsite, you lose, I think it's 40%. So you keep 60% of your stuff, you lose 40%. But if you get killed, if you lose all of your HP, you lose 70% of your stuff, so you only keep 30%. So it's definitely to your advantage to first take the trip to your campsite from here when you can, but otherwise make the choice yourself to leave rather than get killed in battle, so that you don't lose your resources. It's cold and dark here. A small fire can solve both these problems. So, nice place to set up. This is where resources gathered come in handy. So now I can build. And I can build a campfire. And it forces you to do so, right? Because it's a tutorial and the hero restores. Now, we've set up a campfire. This is the only place I can put it. So I have built me a campfire. Now I've beaten this annoying tutorial and I can start my first exposition. Or not. Do as you wish. So now I can take a look. Now I've built the campfire, there are things that I can work out towards. The campfire has me restore 20% of my maximum HP every time that I go through the campfire tile through my camp. And then I can, I guess, build out to other things. And that's about as far as I know about this building portion of the game. And I just realized that I never updated my stream information on Twitch. I don't have a lot of people who watch me on Twitch, but I should definitely have that updated because people do seem to care about that on Twitch, so I want to make sure that's up to date. So I can get an herbalist's hut that make potions heal me better. I've never even seen a potion, but it also unlocks the swamp card. I can get a smithy, I guess, where you always work for a blacksmith. There's always work for a blacksmith, apocalypse or not. Lets me start an expedition with basic gear. Ooh, and unlocks the ability to craft tools for the camp. And then there's a field kitchen. Adds to the campfire's healing power and unlocks up blood growth. So, and then obviously there's a tree to unlock of all of these things that we can build. But that's all we can do here for now. So, oh, I can click on the campfire, how cool. So we are going to go on, oh, and that's how I get to, no, that was not what I wanted to do. So we're going to go on another expedition because we are angry at this skeleton in the sky who took away all of our memories. Oh, and I got an achievement, new beginning. This path, everything is wrong, but I remember. It looks like a completely different place, and it's empty again. Do my actions have any meaning? Oh man, I feel ya. I feel ya about that. Like I have a choice. I feel that too, that is mood. If I need to give up and cry to save the world, I am the worst savior of all. Let's do it. Alright, so here we are. I did choose the, if I remember correctly, I did choose the Dyslexia font. So as we go through and we defeat some of these slimes, I did want to talk about dyslexia in general and dyslexia fonts, right? Because there's a lot of circling around and not really talking as we take these cards, right? So we've got this mountain where we get 5 HP for each adjacent rock or mountain. So we're going to want to surround that by rocks and mountains. Oh, I got some stuff. I'm going to put this stuff out here so we can see it. But there's a lot of circling around here, so I wanted to talk first about what dyslexia is, because a lot of people, we've heard about dyslexia, but we don't really know what it is, and we don't really know how pervasive it is. But it turns out that dyslexia affects somewhere between like 5 and 17% of the population. So it's really cool that they've added a dyslexia font into this game, and it makes it easier to read the words. So like when I hover over rock, it makes it easier for me to see that it gives me 2 HP, and for every adjacent rock or mountain I get 2 more. So I want to put this next to the rock, and I think if I've seen this correctly, even going diagonally from it counts as adjacent. But we're going to start going directly next to it, because that's usually what I think of when I think of adjacent. What is this battlefield? Spawns a chest at the start of each loop. Enemies in adjacent tiles can become ghosts. I don't know why I'd want them to be ghosts. So I'm going to put this... I feel like I want to put this someplace without too many adjacent tiles. So like this only touches 2 tiles, so it's less likely to have ghosts, and that seems like a good thing. Yeah, we're gonna put it there because it's gonna give me a treasure chest, and I'm happy with that. Can I? Yeah, here we go. At the start of each loop, so I can get a treasure chest, but I don't really want ghosts. There we go. And then a grove. Spawns a rat wolf every 2 days. The wolf can move to an adjacent tile, so I'll start getting rat wolves over here, I guess. And so people often have this misconception that in dyslexia, people are scrambling all their words and are flipping things around. And I think it's important to really understand what dyslexia is and when it develops. So dyslexia actually can be detected before a child even starts to be able to read. So early research is able to see signs of dyslexia in children as early as kindergarten before they've learned to read. So this is definitely a disorder of the brain and of the region of the brain that is associated with ability to read. So I've got this meadow here, heals 2 HP at the start of each day. Nothing really interesting unless you're a cow, of course. And so that sort of begs the question, which portion of the brain are we looking at when we're thinking about dyslexia? And we know that the area of the brain that's associated with dyslexia is the left fusiform gyrus. Now that's really fancy way of talking about the underside of the brain. And give me just a second. I want to talk about that in more detail, but I want to take a look at what this Roadlander is. Decreases the maximum number of monsters on adjacent tiles. So that means that we're not going to get overrun. And since we've got these wolf thingies over here, I'm gonna put this over here and around this corner where I'm not going to get overrun by the combination of these slimes and the wolf things over there. All right. So if you imagine your brain, sort of think about your head, sort of knock yourself in the front of the head on your forehead, and that's your frontal lobe. And speaking of my frontal lobe, that has to do with planning and problem solving. My frontal lobe has not been paying attention at all to the armor and shields that have been going on over here. So we're going to equip some of them. So for example, I have a shield over here with defense 4 that we're going to put on, and then we're going to check the other shields and see if they're any better, and they're not. We're going to put a weapon on because that's very useful. We're going to put a ring on. Then we're going to check the other ring and see if it's any better. Oh, we have to choose between damage to all and vampirism. I'm kind of keen on vampirism. So, oh, and this one has slightly better max HP for armor, so let's do that. This one has even better max HP, so let's do that. And let's do some vampirism. So, let's do that. Okay, and while we're doing that, let's see. 40% movement speed, 20% attack speed for all units, and beacons. Sure, let's put add movement speed and attack speed to places. I don't know why would I... No, that's not what I wanted to do. Oh, that was silly. Great. And let's put this meadow here. Alright, so now that I put the beacon in the wrong place, let's talk about our Fusiform Gyrus. So, it just keeps sending me new stuff. A cemetery has some skeletons. Ooh, a skelly man. Let's put a skelly man over there. And some rocks. Let's surround. Let's put some rocks over here. Okay. So, if you imagine, so I want you to sort of knock on your forehead. You've got your forehead there, and then you've got the back of the head. So your forehead is where your frontal lobe is because it's in the front. Or it's kind of how you can remember the name of it, right? And then In the back, you have your occipital lobe. But we're going to talk about where the underneath is. So if you kind of follow along your jaw and then imagine looking upwards from your jaw, that's the underneath part of your brain. And that's where you're going to find the fusiform gyrus is underneath there. Give me just a second. We're going to find some more skeletons. Let's put those on here. And then we can make a vampire mansion. Let's add vampires to the battles on adjacent tiles. Where do we want to give ourselves some vampires? I don't want to put vampires and skeletons in the same place. So let's put vampires someplace where we have slimes. So the slimes seem to hang out over... hold on. What is this doing? This is making chests. You know what? Let's put the vampires over where the chests are. Where the treasure is. The treasure and slimes. There can be vampires there. Oh gosh, that was some evil laughter when it comes to the vampires. That was great. Alright. So, you might have heard and you might have seen on the internet, right, the idea of someone being right-brained and left-brained. Oh, this is a treasury. What's that do? Gives random resources, placing anything on an adjacent tile. Cannot be built into anything. So we have to put it somewhere where there's nothing adjacent, and then when you put something adjacent to it, it gives random resources. Okay, let's put it here. So, Fusiform Gyrus. The idea, you may have heard of the idea that people are right-brained or left-brained. This isn't exactly the case. It doesn't exactly work the way that people talk about it, but instead there are some activities that occur more predominantly in the right side of the brain or occur more predominantly in the left side of the brain. So for example, the left side of the brain is more active when people are engaging in tasks like speech and language and verbal processing like math and logic. So if you think about the game here, where you kind of have to reason through or do the logic of where do I place these, and doing the math of, okay, if this hits me for this many points, what is that going to do to me, and how badly is that going to hurt me? That would happen more in the left side of the brain. Now, that isn't to say that the right side of the brain isn't going to be active at all. It just means that the left side of the brain is going to be activated more than the right side of the brain. The right side of the brain is more active when we're doing things that have to do with spatial tasks, with pattern recognition, and with things like the recognition of faces. The right side of the brain also has to do with things like visual imagery and processing of music. So if you guys can hear the music in the background, and I hope you guys can hear the music in the background, and if you can't, let me know if you can't hear it going on in the background here, if you can't hear it even just a little bit behind me, or with my voice plus the music, because it is really cool music. But it's also involved, and again, if you think about this game and what we're doing in this game, and the sorts of things that would involve the right-hand side of the brain, it would have involved in things like recognizing faces. So looking at this face right now and recognizing that it is a vampire, that it is human-ish, but not quite human. That would be happening more in the right-hand side of the brain. But again, not exclusively in the right-hand side of the brain. And I think it's important to realize that it's not only the right side of the brain that's engaging in that task. It's just more dominant in these sorts of tasks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use more predominantly the left-hand side of our brain to do some language processing and read through what this is saying. So, back off, human. A vampire? Where are your lands? If your farmers need help, I would be glad to offer it. No more lands. No more flock. Only hundreds of years of emptiness. And hundreds of years of hunger. Save yourself while you still can. I don't know how long I will be able to keep my head straight. What hundreds of years are you talking about? Your mind is easy to trick, but you can't trick my hunger. It demands its share. Every sip, every drop of blood will go to satiate it. I'm too weak, but you can help me, and I will set this crumbled world right. Right. I'm doing this not just for myself, but for everyone, in the name of good. So be grateful for my hard work, and just let me bleed you dry. So I think it's cool that they give you some story when you encounter this new type of enemy, and you're remembering some things about vampires of your old world. I also get vampirism on that chest too, so I healed back up quite a bit. Vampires often owned our lands. They kept the peace and helped our settlements to prosper. But this won't do it all. Now they are just pale shadows of their former selves, both physically and mentally. Apparently, the blood of other creatures can't sustain them. He wasn't joking about the hunger. Even the creatures that stand near him are imbued with the power to devour someone else's life. Alright, so let's see. Oh, we got some really great equipment here. Look at that, level 3. So I'm going to lose magic counter, but I'm going to up my damage and get damage to all. I think I'm game for that. This is just all around better armor, and this is just an all around better shield. So we're gonna do that. So yeah, thank you for the awesome equipment there, Mr. Vampire. I am appreciative of that. I am the looped hero, the tank, and I am going to destroy these vampires and be the epic loop hero that I can, the best epic loop hero that I can be. So long as I don't put another beacon in the very much wrong place. So I'm gonna slap down a treasury and then slap down a road lantern. Maybe I should put the road lantern over here. Oh well, too late. I want it next to the treasury, so I can get stuff out of the treasury. I am going to watch out for the marshmallow men. There are marshmallow men in this game, and I am already terrified of them. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, because it doesn't make any sense, I was watching the tank play Grounded earlier, and there are spiders in Grounded, but the developers of Grounded were very nice, and they have an arachnophobia mode, and you actually have different levels of arachnophobia mode where they take more and more features off of the spiders to make them less and less spider-like until they are just these little white puffs that just look like marshmallows. And the tank was very kind and turned his spiders into little white puffs, even though that made them significantly harder to see and avoid, and he therefore died a little bit more often because he couldn't avoid the spiders. But they made them much less scary for me, and I was able to watch the game because I wasn't so afraid of the marshmallow men. So that was very, very kind, because I am very afraid of spiders. And I just like when developers have those sorts of modes. And actually, the tank, I don't know how long you've been here, but that is sort of what I've been talking about here. I lose magic damage, but I gain a lot of defense. I'm gonna go with that. That's sort of what I've been talking about here, is some of the accessibility features, or some of the details surrounding the accessibility feature that we see in this. Oh man, I might lose vampirism but gain evasion. No, I really like my vampirism. I must keep vampirism. Is one of the accessibility features in this game is the dyslexia font. And so I've been talking as I go around this loop. I've been going through and talking about dyslexia and that font. And so I'm trying to remember where I was. Oh, so I was talking about the different sides of the brain. So it makes sense because we know that the left side of the brain is more dominant when we process speech and language. It makes sense that we would see more activity in the left side of the brain when it comes to reading language as well. And so when we're looking for dyslexia, we can see the reading of words and the reading of written text is found in the left-hand side of what's known as the Fusiform Gyrus. And what's interesting is that when they assess kindergartners who haven't yet learned to read, okay, I have to do it. I have to lose the vampirism because that's just too good. Who haven't yet learned to read, but who are observing words and who are seeing the letters, what they're seeing is a hypoactivation of the left fusiform gyrus. They're just not seeing as much activity in that area of the brain. And so they're able to predict that children who have that hypoactivation are more likely to then go on and develop dyslexia. So we have the neural substrate. It's a neurocognitive disorder that results in an inability to read as quickly, as accurately, as a result of this neurological difference. What's interesting as well, as I mentioned before, a range of numbers of individuals or percentage of individuals who suffer from dyslexia, and I said that it's between 5 and 17%. And we often give ranges like that when we're talking about how many people suffer from a given psychological disorder. And sometimes that has to do with research methods, right? It has to do with just different researchers using different methods and different ways to assess a specific dysfunction. But in this case, there's actually another reason why we're seeing such a range, and it has to do with what's known as the orthographic complexity of a language. So what on earth is that? So what orthographic complexity is how well letters respond to phonemes, so to the language sounds, or to the basic sounds within a language. So if you think of a language, if you're familiar with a language like Italian, in Italian, it's so tempting. I apologize, I got distracted for just a second. It is so tempting to take the hit in defense in order to get 11% vampirism back. How's my HP? My HP's okay. So if you think of a language like Italian, in Italian, when you are reading or speaking Italian, most of the time, there's a 1-to-1 ratio between the letters that you're seeing and the sounds that you're going to have to make as a result of seeing those letters. So this is an orthographically simple language where you don't have to... Yes! I have one that doesn't tank my defense nearly as much, but I get... Oh, it tanks regen per second, though. Let's do it. Sorry. I couldn't read and talk at the same time. They're using the same portions of the brain in order to be able to do that. And when that happens, it's a little bit easier to read that language. It's not taxing those parts of the brain nearly as much, and so you are better able to read in a simpler reading task, and so you're less likely to see a neurocognitive disorder like dyslexia. In more orthographically complex languages, like American English, where the same letter can make all sorts of different sounds, you see a higher frequency, a higher rate of dyslexia. So that's why we're seeing different rates there. So one of the things that we know about dyslexia is that it's biologically driven, and another thing that we know about dyslexia is that it is also affected by characteristics of the environment, that is, characteristics of the language that is being read or spoken. So it has this interactive effect between both my underlying genetics and biology, as well as the environment and the experiences that I have. But it may not just be a function of the language that I am learning itself. There's some both evidence and theory to suggest that it could also be a function of the font that I'm reading, and therefore the way that I'm trying to consume the language itself. And that's where this idea of dyslexia friendly fonts has come from, and sort of what started this whole conversation to begin with was talking about these dyslexia friendly fonts. And if you think about it, this makes a whole lot of sense. So if we think about written, typed especially, typeface type language, and think about what the letters look like. So I want you to imagine, for example, or maybe you've hung out with kids, and you can see this even in written language, and the child has difficulty knowing or writing the difference between B and D. And so they go to write a word, and they know that this word has the B sound, but they write the letter D instead. And so they've made this mistake between B and D, right? And they know what word they're trying to write. They're saying the correct word, but they write the wrong letter, and that is because B and D look an awful lot like each other. And if you picture a B and D in your mind, they also, if you were to rotate them, that is, if your Fusiform Gyrus, if your left Fusiform Gyrus wasn't functioning the way you would want it to, they also seem an awful lot like P. And if you think about typewritten language, they also seem an awful lot like Q. Because if you think about typeface and you think about the font that we see on computers, we don't see the sort of squiggly at the bottom of the letter Q the way we would when we are writing the letter Q by hand, which makes the letter Q less distinct from the letter P. Now, this doesn't just happen in the letters B, D, P, and Q. You also see this in other letters. So, for example, the letters S and Z in handwritten form and in some fonts on the computer are very similar and look awfully alike. And again, you can go through and see, for example, if you just rotate them around, the letters N and U, again, depending on the font, look awfully similar. And it's difficult to tell the difference. So we have all of these letters that look very similar, and then you have a potential biological predisposition to have a difficulty processing the difference between these letters and the difference in font and the difference in written language. Put all of these things together, and logic would say that the shape of the letter and the shape of the font would make a lot of difference to somebody who suffers from dyslexia, and could be really important to allowing somebody with dyslexia to engage with written material in any form, whether it's in your textbook or on the internet or in a game like this, and being able to read. And this is a game where hovering over a card and reading what it's about to do to you, like adding a silky bastion of 8-legged hunters spawning a spider on an adjacent tile once a day, which I'm going to put right here because spawning the spider is going to need to happen at some point, because I have to fight the spider. Those sorts of things. I'm also going to get a bigger weapon because we need to kill the spider with fire. Lots and lots of fire. What is this going to do? Yeah, that's not as good. What's this gonna do? That's not as good either. Thank you, the tank. You are here for me with the spiders, so I'm gonna have to close my eyes when I get to those spiders, and you can let me know. I'm gonna cover the game screen and just look at the chat to see if I defeat them. I fortunately I don't think I have to talk to the spiders in this game, which is good. So it would make logical sense, at least, that changing the typeface of the font, changing the way that the letters look, would help somebody with dyslexia be able to process that information and be able to engage with the information. Alright, now I have a beacon and I can put it in the right place. I have a second beacon, I'm going to put it over here in the right place. So now I have beacons in their proper places. We're going to put that rock over here. In this meadow. Yes. Down here. So, now we've kind of gone through the logic of it, and we've gone through what would make sense and why we see these sorts of dyslexia fonts in games and as adaptability and accessibility features in all sorts of... What just happened? Goblins showed up for every 10 mountain or rock tile. Oh, great. I made myself some goblins. Great. Okay. As an accessibility feature. So what do we know about these dyslexia typefaces? And I'm going to have to tell you, I am not an expert in dyslexia. This is not a thing that I have a lot of expertise in. I looked up a lot of the information that I'm sharing with you. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't sharing false information, that I was getting it right. I knew some of it I thought I remembered. Wanted to make sure that I remembered it all accurately. For example, I knew that it was neurocognitive. I knew that it was related to the left side of the brain. Fusiform Gyrus I had to go double check on because I couldn't remember what part of the brain that was related to, those sorts of things. This piece of information, however, I absolutely had to look up because I've never looked into the effectiveness of these fonts before. I've always just assumed, because I've heard people say that they liked the idea of these fonts, that they were a good thing. I'm not giving up my vampirism. That they were a good thing and that they were going to be effective in helping people with dyslexia read the written word. And it turns out that in all of the empirical studies that I could find that assessed those fonts that were specifically designed for individuals with dyslexia and to help oh, I have a mountain peak now. And to help people with dyslexia read and engage with material, when they compare reading accuracy and reading speed with these fonts to other comparable fonts, they're not seeing any differences. I just have to read about this mountain peak in my dyslexia font for just a sec. Could support this guy if it were already. 5 additional HP for every adjacent mountain or rock tile. Spawns a harpy every 2 days. So let's keep putting mountains and rock tiles over here because that's good. Let's just keep getting HP out of that. And that was really surprising to me because I've just heard people say that these are a good thing, and I just assumed that they were a good thing, that they were going to be beneficial. And the reason that I looked into this was because someone with dyslexia was playing this game and said that they were grateful that this font was found in this game. And now we have a goblin that I did not ask for. He says, how do goblins speak? Stop. Where did these goblins come from? I don't remember remembering you. We remembered ourselves. Now give us all you got. Sigh. You have no idea what's going on, right? Why don't you help me restore order in the world first? Then you can do whatever you want. Goblins must rob. No other order in the world. Fair enough. Guess I don't have any valid objection here. Oh wait, I do have one. How about my sword? There we go. My sword of power. I'm going to beat you with my sword and then you will stop. Excellent. Go me. It's strange how these creatures appeared here on their own. Maybe it means everything is actually not so bad and that the world is trying to restore itself. That seems to be the case. Pardon as I take a sip. Or that even the apocalypse isn't enough to get rid of some pests. Hey, be nice to the goblins. Goblin's gonna goblin. And stuff like that. Alright, this will increase my attack speed and my regen per second. Nope, it's gonna... Yeah, but I'm gonna lose some defense and damage to all. What is my damage to all now? Oh, it's the only thing giving me damage to all. No, we're gonna leave that alone. Yeah, okay. So, what this research did find, though, and maybe the reason why we're seeing people have such a preference for these texts, what we do see in a lot of these dyslexia fonts is that what they've done is they've increased the spacing between letters, and they've increased the spacing between words. And when you take these fonts that are specifically designed as dyslexia-friendly fonts, and now I'm gonna close my eyes so I don't have to look at the spiders. When you take these fonts that are specifically dyslexia-friendly fonts and compare them to something like the Arial font, and make the Arial font the appropriate size, so about the same typeface on the screen as you do the dyslexia-friendly font. I guess I'm gonna have to look at the spiders sometime. And you make them about the same size, and you make them... I'll put this one down here. Oops. And you make them with the same inter-letter spacing, so the same spacing between letters, and the same inter-word spacing, so the same spacing between words. If you do that, there's no difference in terms of reading speed or reading accuracy. But you do see an improvement in reading speed and reading accuracy for people when you do that. So that seems to be what the benefit is. That you're seeing better spacing between the letters, better spacing between the words, and you're just generally making things easier to read. And not just for individuals who have dyslexia. It turns out that it just makes things easier to read in general. I'm still really healthy, so I'm just gonna keep going. I've got these 2 meters up here, and I can't remember what they are. Map completion. When this bar is filled, the boss of this chapter will appear. Okay, boss man might appear. I'm gonna keep going, because I still have all of my HP. And so, that seems to be what's happening with these fonts. And I did notice, as I was looking at the main screen, I was comparing those fonts, and sure enough, it did appear that we were seeing a greater spacing. Ooh, more vampirism! We were seeing a greater spacing between letters and a greater spacing between words. I am going to lose my damage to all, but gain more vampirism. I'm going to gain a counterattack. I'm going to gain some magic speed and some magic defense. I think I can... I'm going to do that. Let's see how this goes. What this would do is increase my defense, give me counter but decrease my vampirism. But I just increased my vampirism by 8%. So I am going to take I would take a 4% overall drop, but I'm going to counter, which is going to let me be a vampire more often. So let's see how this goes. I'm not going to take another hit to my vampirism, though. So I'm not getting rid of that sword until I can find another sword that does vampirism. Or another something that gives me vampirism. Because I really like healing myself. That's a thing that I'm big on. Yeah, see, I shouldn't have done that. Now I'm not attacking everybody anymore, and it's taking me longer to kill all these guys. I made an oopsie, I think. sorts of good stuff. Look at all this great stuff. I need to just survive. I need to definitely survive this trip around the board, though, as I loop around. And here I have this spider. Ah, spiders. See, I've been doing... I did get him. I'm very excited that I murdered him and I didn't even need to take out any fire. Okay, wait, I've got another battlefield that spawns a chest at the start of each loop. And then enemies on adjacent tiles become ghosts. Alright. Oh, I've got these other equipment over here that I completely forgot about. Fortunately, you can add stuff on during battle if it's good. Oh wait, no, I didn't want that. Okay. Forgot all about that stuff over there. I have been watching over in chat too when I talk too much, so you can always while I'm over here babbling. Do I want a rat wolf over here with the spiders? Where do I want rat wolves to be? They can go... I don't know, here I guess? That didn't sound good. I'm gonna take away vampirism. Oh, that's an all-around good. See, I'm kind of like wedded to this vampirism now. I'm stuck. I have to be a vampire, because look, now I'm not healing as well. Need more vampirism. Yay. Oh, you can always disturb my explanations. Are you kidding me? My students talk in class all the time. I'm used to it. Well, except when I'm talking on Zoom now. Now nobody talks to me when I'm talking on Zoom. And I don't get to talk to any of my students anymore, and it's sad. I don't want to lose my counterattack until I get more vampirism back. Oh, look at all of these terrible things going on. And there's a goblin leader here who enrages after an ally dies. Well, let's kill him first. Can I just kill him first? What am I doing? Oh, I'm killing his friend first. Why would you do that? Kill him first. What am I, just hitting people at random? What are you doing? This does much more damage, but I lose some vampirism. I don't want to lose the vampirism. Give me more vampireness. That's just slightly better. Did any of this give me back some more vampireness? No. I need my HP back. It seems to be the only way I know. I can't seem to equip anything over in those slots right now. I feel like maybe I need to unlock them. So the question was, can you equip anything in the right-hand slot here? I feel like I might need to unlock those slots later, because I can't really put anything in those slots right now. So when I grab a ring, you can see that things kind of highlight themselves, and that's the slot that I can put the thing in. And nowhere else. Oh. No! What do you mean, no? You want to save the world? You want to ask for help? Our answer is no. How do you... But why no? We see far away. We see deep inside. For a long time, There has been just emptiness instead of the sky, but it doesn't stop us from seeing. Your saving of the world is one-sided and naive. Each person sees their own way of saving the world. That's why no one will ever join you. Fine. I don't fully understand it, but tell me your version. What does to save the world mean to you? My progeny and my kin, for them to be strong and to live. It's a part of the cycle of life and death. It is life itself. It is the world. I will kill you and feed your remains to my starving younglings, and life will go on. And how many lives does your blade give birth to by killing again and again? Only one. I don't want you or your children to die from starvation. Please, try to see reason. If my mission succeeds, harpies can have all the sky and all the hunting grounds they need. I can't feed my children with your beautiful words. It's time to say goodbye. Oh, don't murder me, please. I just want to make it to my to my campgrounds. Please, don't kill me. Oh, good. Ooh, I'm gonna take that little bit of hit in defense so I attack faster. Okay. I feel awful. By fixing one evil, I'm becoming a source of another. There's no home for harpies except the highest mountains, but there's no food there. I can't imagine how they've managed to survive if their mountains were cut from reality. Okay. Let's stick them out there. So now I have a choice to make. I have a bunch of spiders. Not a whole lot of HP. It is almost daytime and I get 47 HP back. And I can bump up my match HP if I take a little bit of a hit to my attack speed. Okay, first let's do this. Got a little bit more HP. What can I do? So this is going to increase my attack speed a lot, but then I lose some vampirism. This makes me lose vampirism. This makes me lose counter. That makes me... See, I don't know. This is where choices come into play. And this game is all about choices. I think I can take this skeleton. And the thing about making choices like this... Oh wait, I can blast something into oblivion. I'm curious, if I blast it into oblivion, does it kill the monsters? Oh no, I have to blast them. Is that a ghost? It is. Oh gosh, I don't know if I can defeat a ghost. So if I blast something... If I blast this ghost into oblivion, can I make it? Alright, first let's see. I think I can make the skeleton. So here's the thing about risk-taking behaviors. It turns out that there is a personality component to your willingness to take risks. And I am a very risk-averse person. Okay. So I can increase my damage by a whole lot. And damage to all. But lose vampirism. But if you see, this spider cocoon is spitting out another spider. So there's gonna be another spider. Somewhere. Alright, I'm gonna knock out these spiders here. And see where that... Oh, nope, that other spider isn't on the road in front of me. Let's see if I can murder this. Don't die, don't die, don't die. Okay, I didn't die. Alright, I'm not dead. Do I think I can kill a ghost? I am a relatively risk-averse person, but I really want to make it to camp. Now, if I can't kill this ghost and I die, I lose 70% of my stuff. If I run now, I only lose 30% of my stuff. And so I have a choice to make regarding how much of my stuff I'm willing to risk. I have a lot of stuff. You know what? I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna try and see how tough this ghost is. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Oh my god, it's a harpy. Things that look like ghosts are harpies. I'm so dead meat. I made it! I made it! Oh my god, I killed it! I did it! And I made it back to my home. Look at me. I am not going around another time. I am so excited that I made it, and so I am going to go back to my camp. I keep all of my resources. So... I can't believe it. Hey everybody, the boy has managed to return. I just came to a realization that I'm a boy. Survivors? Does this mean I'm not alone anymore? Where did you come from? Is there still a place without darkness? We don't know where we came from, or we can't remember. These people you see are only a small part of what's left of the group, I think. You're not sure? We're not sure. We reached that conclusion because of the abandoned luggage and leftover daily rations. With each day, new signs of presence of people that, as far as everyone here knows, have never even been with us. It's like we forgot them. You forgot. Exactly. It's like people disappear every day, and we instantly forget they even existed. Almost as if we forgot the place we came from, and our families, and maybe even ourselves. My name is Yota. That part I still remember. Nobody else's memory is in much better shape. That's why I remember so little about myself. Everything is forgotten. But wait, you said that I managed to return. That means you remembered I was here. Yes, that's why it's so important to us. We saw you leave, but you were gone before we could approach you. Listen, we can't wander around in this emptiness anymore. There is a campfire and a few sleeping bags here. A real luxury in these dark times. What do you say? Oh, of course. I'd be very grateful if we could team up. I want to restore everything. I've begun to remember the world as it was before. But there's no point to it without other people. It's too lonely without them. Remembering the world? I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm too exhausted. But we'd be glad if you could help us. And we'd be glad to help you. Just don't ask us to go with you. I don't know how you managed to return, but for us, leaving the group is too dangerous. I will ask no such thing of you. But for now, I just want to have a place to return to. A place where I can hear other people's voices. We weren't joking about helping you. Here are the few things that survived the cataclysm and don't vanish away. Can't be forgotten. Take them. You might need them. Oh, even more resources. Excellent. And statistics of all the great things that I have done and all of the great things that I have not done. I have no resources lost and I was not murdered, and that is great. The tank says, I had you thinking about the invention of the printing press, or even earlier forms of that system led to the rise in cases of dyslexia. That we're a point in our development where we can identify what dyslexia is and then further discover archaic fonts that were convenient, cheap, and easier to cast and mass produce that exacerbate the condition. I don't know the historical underpinnings of dyslexia. So that's a really interesting point, that I don't know at what point we started to see the rise of dyslexia, but we probably would have just suggested that those individuals were hard to teach or illiterate, because, I mean, let's be honest, that often happens nowadays, that we consider that they have a learning disability, people are not diagnosed with dyslexia, and they're left behind by our educational system. And it's something that we absolutely need to fix, and I will stay on my soapbox about that forever. Because you're right, we can't blame them for making the printing press and for doing that at the time, but at the same time, and for making the letters the way that they are, but at the same time they turned around and blamed the people with dyslexia and called them dumb, and said that it was their fault. So I can blame them for that. And I can blame people who do that today for that too. So, and I'm gonna, because it's my soapbox, because I can. So, definitely something that we need to pay attention to, and that we need to be more aware of. I'm going to build some things here. Yes, now it is a digital age, and we can allow for change for that and make accommodations for that, which I think is absolutely essential for what we're doing here. So I am going to look here and see. So first of all, I definitely want more healing power. It also unlocks apparently another card. It requires 3 wood, 2 stone, and some whatever this is. What is that? Food supply. Oh, see, it tells me when I have enough for that, and it turns out that's the only thing I have enough for, so we are going to get a field kitchen. Oh, a person showed up. Do you know the difference between a good cook and a bad cook? The food made by a good cook is tastier. What? You were waiting for something more elaborate? Sometimes the truth is very simple. Look, I have a cauldron, a hearth, a couple of knives, a bucket of potatoes, 3 onions, and some ham. Nothing special. Everything is very simple. But give me a few minutes and everyone in this camp will be running to my table, following the tasty smell of stew. I like stew. Excellent. And it unlocked a blood grove. And I can upgrade it, and I can dismantle it. Okay, so those are things that I can do. Ooh, and it unlocked other things that I can build that I don't have enough materials for. Which is great. And this is Loop Hero, by the way. The idea of the loop is very true. I doubt that I can upgrade the building. Yeah, I definitely don't have enough for upgrades as of yet. But this is Loop Hero, so the idea of the loop is absolutely a loop, and we could go back in and loop again and just go around and around. But I think I am going to stop my stream of Loop Hero here. We've talked about dyslexia, we've talked about my fear of spiders and the reason why I have to look away from the screen when I fight them, and about now the potential historical underpinnings of dyslexia and where they come from. So I am going to definitely come back to this game. I'm not sure how much more I have to talk about in terms of the psychology of this game, although if you want to see more of it, I can absolutely come back in and talk more about psychology while playing this game, because I am definitely going to continue playing this game. I am babbling now because this is the part of the video where I'm going to put a subscribe button up in the upper right hand corner and link to another video of some form. If I play Loop Hero again, it'll definitely be another Loop Hero video, otherwise it'll be another game. And I already have Red Fighter saying that they want to see some more, so I will take a look at the game and find more good psychology things to talk about here.